This is Marcy. She's a famous Kodak film test image. She's going to keep an eye on us while we learn more about where the nodes are in Shake. We saw earlier how all the nodes are collected in tabs, all grouped by type. We saw in an earlier movie how up here on the menu bar, the Tools tab offers a pop-up menu, and we can pick nodes off of this list as well. Over here in the menu view, there's yet a third way to access the nodes. A right mouse click opens the right mouse menu, and in there is the nodes, and over here are the same exact list of nodes, so you can pick nodes off of this list as well. So that gives you 3 different places to access the nodes to drop them into your flow graph. Now we're going to take a tour of the most important nodes in each one of the tabs. We'll be following the 80-20 rule, which means 20% of the stuff gets you 80% of the results. So we're going to look at the 20% of the most important nodes that you'll be using all the time. First up, we'll take a look at the Image tab. The Image tab contains all the nodes that create an image within Shake. Build a checkerboard, a solid plate of color, a gradient, or a ramp. Of course, we've taken a long look at the File In and the File Out nodes. But the one most important node you'll want to know about is the Rotoshape. This is the node that will draw shapes or masks, and you use it constantly. And it has a unique feature of being able to draw soft feathered edges to introduce motion blur into your masks. The Color tab contains all the nodes that change the color of your images. Before we look at those, I want to call your attention to this letter C. Every node that has a letter C in it means that it will concatenate in the flow graph. That means if you have a brightness node next to a clamp node next to a contrast RGB node, all 3 of those nodes will concatenate together into a single node at render time. That means that they'll render faster and there will be less degradation of the image because there's really only one color correction operation. If you insert a node that does not have a C, you break the concatenation, or you insert a transformation operation or any other non-color operation that will also break the concatenation. The important nodes here are the brightness node, of course, and the color correct node. This is a very powerful color corrector. It allows you to color correct the darks, the midtones, and the lights individually. The fade node is used to fade 4-channel images up and down prior to the composite. The gamma node, of course, adjusts the gamma of images. The invert node is used most often to invert the black and white of an alpha or a mask or a matte. The lookup node is in fact a 3-channel color curve, so you can create your own custom color curve node. The MDiv, that's short for matte divide. That divides the RGB channels by the alpha channel and in fact performs the unpremultiply operation for CGI. The mmult is the opposite. It multiplies the RGB channels by the alpha channel, and in fact that's the premultiply operation. The monochrome node converts color images to monochrome, and the multiply node is used to scale the RGB channels up and down as one form of color correction. The reorder node reorders the channels within an image. For example, you can swap the red and green channels, or you could copy the blue channel into all 3 channels, or even eliminate the alpha channel from an image. And the set alpha node is used to add an alpha channel to any image. If we go up to the Filter tab, these of course are all the nodes that filter images, the most important of course being the blur node. But you'll also be using the dilate and erode a lot as you want to expand and contract your mattes. The film grain node does an analysis of grain structure from one image, and then you can apply that same grain to another image. This is the radial blur node, and you can blur inwards and outwards and set the amount. Very important node. The sharpen node can be used to apply image sharpening operation to those images that are out of focus. Next we have the Key tab, which contains all the nodes for creating keys, including a spill suppress node. The chroma key and the luma key, of course, you'll use a lot, but your most important one is key light. This is a very powerful blue screen and green screen keyer. It does very high quality work. The Layer tab contains all the nodes that combine two or more images together. Of course, the addMix node is very important. The IAdd is image add for adding two images together. And iMult is image multiply for multiplying two images together. Use that a lot when you're working with your mats. As well as the iSub or image subtraction node. The KeyMix node is used for compositing. It takes a 3-channel foreground, a 3-channel background, and an alpha channel and does a composite for you. The Max node takes the maximum of two images, and the Min node takes the minimum of two images. You'll use both of those a lot for your map manipulations. The Mix node does a variable dissolve between two images. The Over node is specifically designed to composite a 4-channel image over a background. And the Screen node performs a screen operation between two images. And the Switch Mat node will take any channel from one image and slip it into the alpha channel of another. The Transform tab contains all the nodes that change the shape, size, or position of an image. You'll notice the little letter C is showing up here as well. And it means the same thing as what we saw in the Color tab. All of these nodes, if they're adjacent, will concatenate together and create one single large transformation operation at render time. This not only speeds up your rendering time, but it also improves image quality. It avoids the degradation of having several sequential transformations and filter operations one after another. The nodes you'll use most often will be the Crop node, for cropping your images, and the Match Move node. This performs motion tracking on a background plate and then takes another element and motion tracks it on top. The Move 2D node contains a whole collection of 2D transformations: move, scale, rotate, skew. The Move 3D node contains all 3D transformations. The Stabilize node does motion tracking over a shot, then turns around and applies that information to stabilize the entire shot. The Tracker node contains nothing but motion trackers. It does no image correction or match move operations. This node is used to collect motion tracking data, which you can then use in many other nodes. The Warp tab contains all the nodes to warp your images, and most of these are procedural warpers, except for the Morph node, which does high-quality morphs between two images, and the Warper node, which allows you to do spline-based arbitrary distortions of any image. And last is the Other tab. This node is really the miscellaneous collection of all the nodes that didn't fit into any of the other categories. Two of the most important nodes here would be the Bytes node. This is used to promote or demote images from 8 to 16 bits to float and back. And the Select node. This allows you to have multiple selected inputs to one node, and you can choose between them, and is most often used for development purposes, so that you can compare different solutions to a problem. The remaining 3 tabs here have nothing to do with nodes, so we'll be taking a look at those at another time. In this movie, you got the nickel tour of the top 20% of the nodes that you'll be using most of the time, so that you could see where they're located and how they're organized.